Angie,
John?
are you an influencer?
At home I am. You can just ask my dogs.
I mean more online, like social media influencer.
Oh no, not until I get my teeth whitened, a spray tan, getting those photos ready.
Angie, I think it's time we reclaimed the word influencer and talk about what it really means to have online influence and how to do it.
I like where this is going. Let's open up the coaching clinic.
Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie.
The show for professional coaches who want to develop their skills and grow their business.
Follow the show on your favorite podcast app.
And join us every Wednesday for new episodes.
The doors are open, and Angie, we're talking about influence and influencers. And we probably have this concept in our minds now of what an influencer is. What do you think of when you hear the word influencer?
It's so funny because I know we talked about this and I feel, how do I explain this? I'm not articulating well yet, but I feel like the influencer is that person who really just, that's what they're doing. They're focusing on the influencer part of it without as much, I feel like, substance to a specific cause. It's quick hits. It's less to me. And we're going to get hate mail over this.
I feel you may be hitting on the head some of my thoughts about this as well, that I probably think more when I hear the word influencer of the more superficial side of social media, which is all about image and not really about substance. And so it is like having those perfect white teeth and perfect hair and big smiles and perfect life and all of that. And I think that word influencer has been associated with that for so long. I hope that's starting to change, and I certainly would want to be a part of trying to reclaim the word influencer to mean something that it should, because at the moment, all it really means is someone who has a big online following. Really, that's essentially it. They have a lot of followers on social media. That makes them an influencer because they have potentially influence over the audiences that are following them on social media.
Yeah, I think the word I was fishing for earlier was superficial. And listen, and that's not to say, right? So we're not, right, John? We're not here to bash that space because it's the
hot
space.
People can stay hot. It's fine. We'll let them. We'll give them that. If you're hot and you're getting followers because of that, you carry on.
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely some merit to that if that's the space that you're in. For example, I love to cook, and I have been thinking about doing like cooking with Angie. I go by Coach Angie. And Angie Speaks and all the things, but I love to cook. My husband is constantly chasing me around with the phone in the kitchen, and he's, look at all these people. You make better meatballs than them. So that would be me being an influencer, maybe in the cooking space. But I feel like in the coaching and the speaking space, that is not at all how I want to be like received or perceived, honestly. I wanted to have a little more guts to it than that.
I would tune in to watch you making meatballs, but maybe that's because I know you. And I would certainly like to know what goes into Angie's meatballs. But when it comes to being an influencer online, I don't think the whole Instagram influencer thing is quite as big as it was. And certainly hot people are always going to get followed because they're hot. They're always going to have people who are checking them out, whatever else, just because they're attractive or they're fun or whatever else. And that's fine. There's a place for that. There really is. But it shouldn't tarnish what is going on in terms of professional influence or having more stuff going on and having a bit more substance to what you do and having something to say. And the social media platforms can really be that. One of the things that I found is let me ask you this. Would you want people to be following you just because you're hot and sexy? Would you personally want that to be the only reason really that people are following you?
Absolutely not, because it has no sustenance. Then I'm only as good as the last greatest thing I did. That's my positioning on it. I want there to be real value. But again, I think that's why I don't look at myself as an influencer. And it was very difficult. I struggled with everybody's been telling me for years, you need to start making videos. Years ago, first speaking gig I ever did, they asked for do you have any videos on YouTube? And I was like, no. I just didn't. I felt maybe what a lot of people feel, that there had to be the image that came before the crux of what I was doing. instead of building the image. I definitely did not look at it the way most people do nowadays. Now it's like commonplace. Back then, I resisted it. I wanted nothing to do with social media in that way. Nothing.
Yeah.
Who knew?
However, I would not want the only reason for people to follow me online to be because I'm hot and sexy, even though I am, obviously.
You are so sexy. If you could see John's hair today.
It might quite happy with my hair this week for once. But yeah, I wouldn't want it to be the only reason that people are following me. But just realistically, there is like this inherent bias towards people who are more attractive. And we get even more conditioned toward that with TV and things like that. So we do have to compete with that. But I think one of the ways we do that on, and it is perhaps on the more superficial level, is by looking the part. We should look like we reflect who we want to be, the brands that we have. We need
Mhm.
to pretty much look like, all right, you know what you're talking about. It's all part of creating, I'm not going to say this is an illusion, but creating this perception of competence and of being
Sure.
like, if you go, one of the reasons why when you go to the opticians or maybe a beauty salon, a lot of them will be wearing white coats. It's not because they're medical doctors or they need to be in white coats. No, it's because it gives you this sense of that they are qualified and they know what they're doing.
Sure.
It's a uniform and it's there for you. So they
Mm.
look the part. And that's right. Wouldn't ask them to change it. They look the part. We need to look the
Yeah.
part as well. So it is an important element of your influence to look like you should look for what you want to do, or to look like your audience would want you to look, and still stay true to your own style as much as you can as well.
I think yes. And I feel like there's been a transition. There's been a growth in that space. And whether we like them or not, like obviously the bigger names of coaching and speaking, the Tonys, the Mels, all those people, they're getting into that posting and posting and posting. They didn't necessarily create it, but they definitely hopped onto it. So I feel like there's a little gray area for the people who aren't the Tonys and the Mels yet, because there's this want to, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think his last name is Vaynerchuk. Did you ever see him on
Oh yeah,
anything?
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary
He
Convey.
often, yeah, most people shorten it to Gary V. So I think we're good with that.
So here's the thing. I'm like kicking myself in the butt saying, I could have Gary Vee all day long because he's cute, whether you like him or not, because he's very, we know, right? He's very potty mouth. He just says it the way it is. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking, I'm looking at him saying to myself, I could do that because he still does have great messaging, right? But he just says it in such a way that's relatable. And obviously his target audience is a very specific group. And I'm thinking, I could have potty mouth. I could have combined my potty mouth with my knowledge and experience and been that person. Aha. But the joke is, did I really want that? And the answer was no. That was my answer. It was like, I don't want to do that. What do I want to be image wise as a coach and a speaker? And I don't know about you. Let me ask you. So, do you feel like for you, the image, the influencer needs to be more polished, that type of a,
Ideally, really. And I'll tell you what, I don't necessarily think that it has to start off that way. I think we can and should start imperfectly and build from there. And
yeah.
it's okay for your audience to see growth and transformation over that time as well as you develop and figure things out. If you are aiming to have a professional, respected brand that people can trust, I think there is an element to which you need to at least be able to settle people's minds a bit about, well, you do actually make some effort to at least look and seem like the part that you should do. And again, this isn't
Yeah.
trying to fool anyone. It's all about creating the feel that feels right for you and for your audience and for what you're doing. The level of professionality that you want to have. If I wanted to purely talk to business executives, I probably would have a little bit less of music books and Star Wars models behind me and a bit more of a professional, not austere necessarily, but a bit more classical background of, okay, let's get rid of the fun stuff a bit more. And maybe we could have a splash of that, but will make it much more professional looking. So it's going to look more like a corporate environment because that's really what they're expecting to see. And that's where they're going to feel related. Like, all right, I'm getting a corporate sense from you and getting that image as well. But I do think the image stuff is important to some degree. Your visual brand does matter. And if you look a bit crappy on video, people are going to judge that, oh, you haven't really made much of an effort, or maybe you're new to this. Or I think more and more, if you're putting out content on YouTube and you don't look like you have a professional setup, people are less likely to want to watch you. It's a bit like in a restaurant. Like if your food could come out looking like crap and taste amazing, but if it comes out and looks like crap, you're probably not going to want to eat it because that's all part of the image and the experience. So we eat with our eyes to some degree. Your food could come out and look amazing and taste like crap. These things can happen, but you're more likely to have a better experience if your food looks good and tastes good.
Yeah, I have some challenge on that. And it's not that I disagree because I love the analogy of how your food is plated. But I think what I realized is that I worked very hard to create a specific image. And what I found in working with specific people is that, right, because my audience is professional, right, the executive. And I think a lot of people are a little surprised to hear that because when you and I are talking, I'm not like sitting here with this polish. I just am who I am. And when I get on with some of these people, like on video and stuff, they're living just the way that they are. So I would be like looking, if I was the executive that you were looking to coach or speak with, I'd be like, that is so cool. Look at this guy with all his Star Wars things, because it shows the little bit of the human side. So again, this is not to say what John is saying is wrong, because it's not. But I think it's along the lines of kind of still being who you are and injecting that into the image as well, because
But this is a little different when we're talking about working one-to-one with clients, though, to when you're publishing stuff onto social media platforms. And sometimes when I'm working one-to-one with clients, I've done that from coffee bars. I've done that from all sorts of places when I've needed to. And it doesn't really matter that much. But when you are looking to be an authority online, I think how you come across visually does matter. Much as that this podcast is primarily an audio podcast. And so it needs to sound reasonably good as well, because if the audio sucks, people aren't going to want to listen. They're always going to judge. And if the show's not edited and we don't have a proper beginning and music and stuff like that, these are all things that add those credibility elements to what we do and create influence by giving us that, oh, these guys know what they're doing, at least to some degree. It is important, and it's different when we're talking about what you're going to potentially put out to the world to what you may put out on a one-to-one call or a group coaching program where you're interacting more personally with people in those elements. And there's a lot more leeway and they're focused more on you. But even then, if you have stuff in your environment, I feel like this is a little TED talk now, but if you have stuff in your environment that helps to solidify or secure that image or that sense of who you are, where you may want things that my background is intentional. It does represent stuff that I genuinely have interest in. And it's designed in my head to be fun, to show creativity, and to show learning. So there's books, there's models, there's pictures, there's a keyboard there with a music book on it. Those are the things that I want people to associate with me because they are things that are about me. So having those in my environment tells you that unconsciously if you're seeing me on video.
I know it's very intentional because this is not your home office. This is an office that you leave your home to go to. So this isn't, this is just a room in John's house and this is where he stores his personal stuff, like your office. And the first time we got on video, I was like, oh my gosh, you like Star Wars? Remember, it started this whole conversation about Doctor Who and all the things. Insight as to really just who you are. And that's what I was thinking as I was saying what I was saying earlier. So your office is definitely, it's very intentional. It's not just some extra room in your house where you're just throwing your things that don't fit anyplace else that, your spouse won't let you keep out in the open. This is your space. So I do agree. Here's the thing. I think that we need to be intentional about what the image is that we want to portray. I do think so to some degree. It's not a fake thing. It's just you need to be who's your audience and how are you showing up? Because honestly, if I'm going to talk to teenagers, for example, and that's my space, that's my audience, or I'm going to be coaching with them, I'm not showing up in a suit. I have them,
Right.
but they're going to look at me and go, "Oh my goodness, look at her." I'm in like jeans and sneakers, and I'm like, "Hey guys," and I'm speaking a bit differently. So to your point, then if I'm speaking to the executives, I'm certainly my hair's not in a ponytail and I'm not wearing like a jean jacket or something. I'm going to change that bit. You have to be intentional about it. But I think really get caught up like that they look at influence and influencer like they're interchangeable, that they mean the same thing.
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. Do you think most people probably understand that
Yeah.
influence and influencer are not the same thing? Dictionary wise, anyone who exerts influence
Sure.
is an influencer. So
Did you just say
technically,
dictionary?
yeah, just
Hilarious.
official definition would be anyone who has
Yeah.
influence. And the way we use the language is a little different. So the association we tend to have with
Yes.
influencer is someone who has a big social media following and
Mm.
probably posts lots of photographs of delicious meals and beautiful families and sexy bodies and whatever else. I do think that is somewhat changing, or at least I hope it is. I can only really say from my perspective that I feel like that is changing somewhat because I see far less of what
Mm,
people generally associate as the sort of fake lifestyle
mm,
gurus who look like they have this perfect body and image and all that.
right.
And you know that can't be real. Like you're just seeing edited highlights. But it is all right. This is a curated image, a curated lifestyle, and we do need to somewhat curate for ourselves as well to what we put out to the world. Because being authentic doesn't mean to say that I need to turn the camera and show you a sink full of dirty dishes or something like that. Not that there
You
is
don't
one.
want to see me when I wake up in the morning, for sure. John has, but the rest of you don't.
That's the thing. Is like authenticity needs to be to a degree. You need to stay true to who you
Yes.
are, but we don't need to lay ourselves bare for the audience and reveal all of our secrets. We do still need to curate and decide what is okay or cool to share with people and what isn't. And it's a really difficult thing because some people think that authenticity just means but we're all different in different situations.
Sure.
I think we do need to decide how we want to be showing up and how we want to be perceived online. It's all branding, but to have
Yeah.
influence with us, it's important that we look right, that as best we can, we sound right, and that we are sharing good content and a little bit of ourselves, that we share some stuff about us personally. I think, you know who Russell Brunson is, right? If you haven't heard of Russell
Yes.
Brunson?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
ClickFunnels guy. I'm not a ClickFunnels fan or cult member, some people call it, but his books, which I
Mm.
think he has at least three, and they're all online secrets or social media
Yeah.
secrets, really good books on how to build up your brand and how to share socially and set yourself up as a person of influence in your industry. And sharing a lot of professional knowledge and insight and sharing some personal elements of you as well so that people can connect with you as a human being, not just as an object or a professional thing. Is like you have a bit more reality to you. More and more people are sharing stories. Have you noticed this? That more and more people are sharing stories online these days. And I think something we should all probably do more of because stories are a great way to connect with each other and for people to feel
Absolutely.
more personal stories about you, about your family, not the LinkedIn BS stuff about, oh, my
Yes.
child came and said this to me the other day. And you know, that's either been made up or really because they're trying to make some sort of point on LinkedIn. And
Right.
yeah, not that, but
Right.
real stuff that happens to you in your life that can be shared and maybe gives you an insight. Because very often the biggest realizations or insights we have come in the mundane areas of our lives, and we can share those stories.
Oh my gosh. I would say most of the ideas in my personal content for speaking or has come from a real life experience of my own or even with a client. And I'm like, oh, let me write that down. Or even some of our ideas here. It happens very naturally and organically. And we're like, hey, we should be talking about that. So that's, I think, where the authenticity piece comes in, that everything isn't planned and structured. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a Disney fan. I don't want to take the tour behind. I don't want to go behind the scenes and see the inner workings because I like living in the world, right? I like living in the image because I like it. I don't want to change how I feel about that. So there's only so far I want to go. And on the flip side of that, there's only so much that I want to share. I will be authentic, but again, nobody needs to see Angie when she first wakes up in the morning and her hair is everywhere. And I'm telling everybody about things that are not really relevant unless there is a specific, this is what I'm doing. No, you don't want to see, oh, Angie's cleaning her toilet bowl today. Nobody wants to see that in the coaching and speaking world.
Exactly.
Not really.
There are elements of your life that people would just feel, why are you telling me this? Why is this relevant in any way, shape, or form? Or it doesn't really tell me anything about you, or it doesn't tell me anything I want to hear or know about you. And that stuff is better curated out. And this is kind of what we're talking about. Get rid of the fluff and the nonsense and stuff that nobody is going to care about. And when you're sharing personal stuff, share it to connect with people. And when you're sharing professional stuff, again, share that to connect, but share it to educate, entertain, and all those good things as well.
Do you have a question for the coaching clinic?
Reach out on LinkedIn to connect with Angie and John.
Leave us a voicemail or video message and we will feature you on the show.
You can also leave up to 90-second voicemail for free on www.speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye for now.